Good morning, everyone. Welcome once again to the Aurum podcast, where on this bright Saturday morning, and we thank God that we are alive and strong. I'm your host, Anthony Curia, and welcome to the show that discusses all things that relate to human capital. The Aurum podcast is hosted by Aurum Consultants, a HR and risk advisory consultancy that helps business build winning teams. And today I am joined by the usual crew, those who help us dissect, deconstruct, and bring forward all matters that relate to HR, human capital, and building winning teams. With me is our in house HR lead consultant, Zipporah Kuria. Welcome, Zippy.
Thank you, Anthony. Good morning, viewers, and karibuni sana.
And thank you, Zippy. And with us also is our always reliable first class HR specialist, the consultant to the consultants. Her name is Martha Thuku. Welcome, Martha.
Hey, thanks, Anthony, for that intro. Wow. Karibuni, viewers.
Thank you, thank you. You know, Martha, we can't invite people who are just run of the mill. We have to invite people who know what they're doing. And you definitely know what you're doing.
Thank
And
you.
indeed, we appreciate you very much. You, together with Zippy, our in-house lead. You guys, you ladies bring this topic superbly. Now, today, I can see we are all bright and ready, even to our viewers and our listeners, because we have a hot topic that we want to discuss. A topic that any employer, any employee knows, and depending on where you are, you either look forward to it or you wonder why the company is not doing it. It's called training and development. Training and development is designed to enhance employees' skills. The purpose of it is just to enhance employees' skills, behaviors, and expertise by helping them learn new work techniques. This is supposed to increase productivity and inefficiency in the workplace. That's the purpose of training, basically to increase productivity and efficiency in the workplace. So, ladies, let's begin this discussion. And we thank our viewers. If you are listening to us, you're watching us, and you have questions, you have comments, you'd like us, you'd like to changia, you are welcome. Kindly throw in a question, throw in a comment. We would love to handle it as we go. So, I just said there that training and development is designed to help. Designed to help. So the first question that pops up in my mind, Zippy, is what is the importance of training to employees, and is it a necessary cost? You know, most employers think in that direction. What is its important, and is it a factor to cost as you do your business?
Wow. Thank you, Anthony, for that question. I would say training is one of the areas we don't too much, and sometimes we count it as too expensive. It's probably not necessary. We have engaged people who are qualified, they should know what they are doing, and we don't look at it from a strategic perspective, the importance of it in our own organizations. And I would say training is a very important component if we are going to achieve our business objectives, if we are going to achieve our strategic goals. Training is something that we cannot run away from. Training employees is something that is paramount to the business success. So this is something that I would say as organizations we need to embrace, we need to think through it, and we need to come up with a plan and a budget for it. When you ask whether it's a necessary cost, yes, it's a necessary cost. I always say try ignorance, and the cost will be probably much higher than when people are not trained. Look at, for instance, when you have engaged employees to your business, and they might have the skills, the background in terms of education, maybe relevant experience to some extent, but do they understand how your business even runs? So we cannot avoid putting employees in some sort of training that would help them achieve their goals. And I would say training is important because you have to use it to align the specific needs of the business and also the productivity of the business. So when you're looking at it, I think it's important for us not to look at it from casual perspective, but from a position of a strategic element that would help us achieve the business objectives. The other thing I would say, when you're developing training, it reflects the organization culture as well. Sometimes
Mm,
you'll find an organization where employees are not trained. It's a culture where employees don't learn. They are not trained. They do
mm,
things, as they go. They learn as they go, probably. But I think it's also important from a strategic objective. And if you a business that you set your strategic objectives, you set your goals, whether short term or long term, your employees set their goals, there's an importance to help them understand
mm,
how we're going to achieve these goals. There are probably some technical skills they don't have. Maybe some of it is leadership training that they need to be able to know, how do we achieve these goals, how do we manage our teams.
mm,
When you're looking at training, and I'm sure Mother will probably talk about this, how many hours should we ensure employees are trained in a year? When
mm,
we are going to do things like performance management, how are we going to make sure they understand this performance management and how to carry it effectively, and how to make sure what they are doing is contributing to the business objective and bottom line? Because sometimes, unfortunately, I've realized we do training sometimes to tick the box.
mm,
And you've seen scenarios where probably there was a training budget beginning of the year. Maybe there was a lot of other things happening in the course of the year. Training was not planned properly. And towards the end of the year, because we must spend the budgets, we hurriedly start looking for training programs to put people through the training programs. But the question is, what is the objective? Are we trying to achieve a common goal here? Are we trying to just spend the money? Are we trying to tick the box to say, yes, we trained? How is it contributing to the bottom line? So I would say training is very important because it will boost employee productivity if you look at it from an objective perspective, if you look at it from a strategic perspective. And yes, it's a necessary cost.
wow, wow, wow. Zippy, you have really dissected it nicely. To any businessman, businesswoman, entrepreneur, manager, you're wondering, how do we handle this? Why is it important? Now you've heard the preamble, why it is important, why it's a necessary cost. Martha, what's your take? What's your view about training, its importance, and its is it cost effective?
Thank you, Anthony, and thank you, viewers. I agree totally with Zippy. It is importance. It is important to have training. What we can maybe simply describe training as, for me, I would look at it, we call it educational, yeah, kind of educational initiatives that
Mm,
an organization can put in place and will be geared towards enhancing employee skills. And for me, I think it is important because we normally employ these people and they come with various skills. Then you come to the job and then you find, for me to be more effective, I need a training in this particular skill for me to
true.
perform better. So really, it is to help yourself, your employees, give you the best out
Yes.
of, okay, they have the skill, but they need this something extra. Are you going to
Mm,
go out and look for someone who has that something extra? Or can
mm-hmm,
you train your able employee to gain that
mm,
skill so that they can do better? The other thing,
mm-hmm.
and it build confidence for that
Yes.
person, even when they are performing. It really builds their confidence. I think it really brings in job satisfaction,
Mm,
that my employer cares. And then it also, you will find most of the organizations that really concentrate on training their staff, you'll find the turnover is not, it's not, people don't leave uh,
mm,
because they are gaining. and they are feeling like they belong. So when you're training a staff, if you decide instead of employing a new person for this new role, Zippy
Yes.
can do this role. All she needs is this extra skill.
Mm.
When Zippy even learns that, and she feels she belongs, and she'll
Mm-hmm.
take like that organization at heart. So you can imagine what that makes the organization performance. The performance
Mm.
improves. A, because people are trained well, and B, they feel like they belong. So they feel like that organization is theirs. And also training then helps even prepare someone for either succession planning or for
Yes.
promotions. So the organizations that care, when they are promoting or they are planning succession planning, they don't go out looking, oh, who can we do this? They have already
Mm.
trained their staff, and their staff are ready to take up the next role. Tony,
Mm.
if you are the MD and
Yes.
suddenly you have to go on leave for a long leave, you should have someone who can backstop you
Yes,
easily,
that's true. Easily,
without
yes.
without now wondering, now what will we do, or without
Mm.
leaving a vacuum in that place.
Yes.
So that
Yes,
when you
that's
go and you come back, you will find things have moved, because
mm.
an organization is a going concern. Things
Yes.
cannot stop because someone went on leave.
Mm-hmm.
uh, Things cannot stop because someone died, or things cannot stop because someone resigned.
Yes.
So that's so much the importance of training, is just equipping staff, and encouraging them to, and pushing them for the next level, and even preparing for such eventualities. So that's why I would say it's important. And those, then also satisfied staff will always give you good performance.
Mm. Mm.
Thank you.
Wow.
And
Wow.
actually,
Wow.
just to add on to what Mother said, the other thing
Mm.
I think training does for you as an organization is so to create a competitive advantage. If you have
Mm.
well-trained employees who actually their attrition, like Mother said, is low, they are not leaving, then you will probably compare yourself with another organization where maybe training is not a culture and then the
Yes.
turnover is very high. So it actually gives you a competitive advantage in the market. So I don't think it's
Mm.
something that we can run away from. And it's a culture we need to create if we want to have effective businesses. Um, and it's something that I think we just need to embrace, and it doesn't have to be also be expensive. When you look at the
Mm.
cost, what are we talking about? Sometimes you might find internally actually you have employees who can help and who can train other employees, and like Mother is saying, create opportunities for people. If I'm able to train, why not give me that opportunity to train my colleagues? Why not build me up in that area so that I can become your in-house training go-to person instead of having to incur a lot of costs? Yeah, there are times you need to incur costs from outside and get expertise to come and do the training, but there are some trainings you can actually do it internally without incurring a lot of cost. But of course, there
Mm.
are opportunity costs because when people are engaged in that training for 2 3 days, of course there's an element of the work probably that is not ongoing, but again it's a
Mm.
necessary cost to help the business become more productive and to give you a better competitive advantage.
Yeah,
Wow,
and see
ladies.
people, you can see people look at,
Yes.
some organizations think cost. When they
Mm.
think training, what comes in
Yes.
mind is cost.
Yeah.
Of course,
Yeah.
it's a necessary cost. So it's important that that cost, when you are doing your budget allocations, it's so important you put
Yes.
training costs. But at the end of the day, training, as Zippy has said, doesn't have to always be external costs.
Yes.
Yeah. As we
Yes.
have seen, I can grow by just working under Tony. I
Mm.
can just grow because if Tony is actively showing me things and letting me
Yes.
do things, I can
Yes.
grow. So it doesn't have to be that you're paying. But then now where you need to pay, it's a necessary cost. So it is the organization that will benefit. It will not, that staff will benefit, but the
Mm.
organization will benefit more. Thank you.
All right, all right. Indeed, ladies, you have brought it very well in terms of the importance and the necessity of it. I like the points that have come up, and to our viewers and listeners, these are the points that have come up about its importance. That you generate job satisfaction for your staff, that they know here they can increase their skills beyond what they brought in with them. And then you also, by doing so, you increase employee morale and reduce turnover, because people know this company, not only do they help you do what you're doing well, but they also strengthen your skills. So there is a lower turnover than a place where you just come, work, and leave. And then in the long term, it is more cost effective. Effective. I like the fact, I think it's Zippy, I don't know whether it's Zippy or Mother. You've said it is more expensive to keep hiring somebody to come and do a job because they have a specific skill set, and you could train, you could spend some money, train the existing staff on that particular skill set, and and in the long term reduce the cost. Let me give you an example. You know, when when that was said, it hit me. For example, training your staff on fire prevention, being fire marshals. You can either decide to hire somebody and put them there, kazi yake tu ni waiting for a fire to occur, or you can train your staff to handle the various fire fighting equipment, the blankets and all that. You spend some money, 2 3 days, you train a number of them to be fire marshals, how to deal with all types of fires and incidences and all that, where the risks are. And you don't have to hire somebody to sit and do, to wait for a fire to occur. Your staff already trained. Okay? And then there's issues of, I like the way, Mother, you put it, succession planning. When you train your staff in-house, you're training somebody to be the deputy, to as it were, to be the GM, as it were. They are shadowing the GM. When the GM goes on leave, we are not wondering what happens. There is somebody who can ably take care of that position. Even when the CEO is not around, there's somebody who is acting. The GM who is probably back to work and the CEO has taken a short leave, the GM can, without having to take critical decisions, can take the run day-to-day opportunity and even down the rank. I like the fact you've talked about competitive advantage. That Zippy, you brought that issue of competitive advantage. That's something that many people don't think about. And also, I don't know, ladies, what I just thought about the issue of necessary cost. Doesn't the fact of being a member of NHIF, is it not, NITA, also help in terms of reducing training costs? Is that correct?
Yes,
Zippy,
that's very correct. And
When they pay, yes. If and when they pay.
yeah,
yeah, if and when they pay.
yeah.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
they
but
do
you see,
pay. They do
mm,
pay. One of the things that I've realized sometimes works is when you are engaging a trainer, find out whether they are NITA registered. If they are
Yes.
okay.
NITA registered, find out, are you going to support us in terms of making sure we get our reimbursement? I know
Mm,
sometimes, unfortunately, the way the government offices work, sometimes it's quite slow and it might take a long time. The other thing I've realized sometimes would make the claim not come through is sometimes when there's a missing document. They will use a very small issue not to give you the payment. But of course, now that the onus goes back to the person doing this planning, make sure the document is in order, but also work with the trainer and tell them, yes, we are paying for this training, but you need to also help us get our reimbursement. So
mm,
again, I think also probably the NITA officers, and now someone is listening, they also need to up their game in terms of also helping reimburse this kind of trainings. Unfortunately, it's a statutory requirement that we have to make sure we pay. Otherwise, we end up paying a lot of penalties. But also, it's important for them to also enhance how they do the reimbursements and make it a bit easier.
mm,
And
mm,
and if NITA actually was to step up, most organizations will not have problems training their staff.
mm,
So
mhm,
it could be it needs to be a partnership between the organizations, the trainers, and NITA. Because then, if that partnership is there and the organization is assured that at least it's not paying everything on that
mm,
training,
mm,
then you'll find most organizations will will want to do those trainings because it's a great help to the organization and even to the nation that you are
Sure,
having
sure.
skilled employees. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Those are very good points. Wow, it's good that we brought us. So if I hope there is somebody from NITA listening to us, somebody connected to NITA, because this would help in oiling the wheels of SMEs, and especially
Yes.
getting more, training staff, and knowing that if I'm registered and I'm statutorily paying for it, and I have a trainer who is also registered by NITA, to do the same, so that now you can be able to, the NITA, with the collections they're making, they can be able to grease the wheels of reimbursements, to enable, to create an incentive for entities and companies, and especially SMEs, to participate in training their workforce. Now, there's a question here that I love, the things to do with culture. A few weeks ago, I heard Martha saying, is it Martha or Zippy? Strategy eats culture for lunch, or something like that, or culture eats strategy for lunch.
For
I hear
lunch.
something like that. I wonder why
That
it's
was
not
Miss
supper.
Nina.
Oh yeah, it was Madam, our former guest, yes, Madam
Yes.
Nina. I
Yeah.
wonder why it is not for dinner. Dinner is when you're really hungry. Anyway, how do we make
I think that
learning?
means it will not see the light of day.
Good.
Yeah.
How do we make learning and development a cultural trait within our organizations? Let me start. Let me hear from Martha first. What's your take, Martha? How do we make learning and development, just from your own experience? It doesn't have to be just thinking about it. How can you make it a cultural trait, something that is just, it's like a reflex action within an organization?
Okay, thanks, Tony.
Yes.
It is possible for you to do that. And for the established organizations, it is really to, just make training foster a culture of training.
Mm,
And you'll find that for the established organizations, hopefully, that training is intricated in their strategy.
mm,
So it's already there,
mm.
and even how training will take effect. For small businesses, you'll find a small business for that cost looks like this is our profit. They
Mm.
don't want to spend their small profit
Yes.
with trainings. And what I can advise, however small you are, just think training not as a cost. Think training as a day-to-day kind of
Mm.
living. That even
Mhm.
as you're doing your work, you have someone who is, there's nothing good, Tony, like training by observation.
Yes. Yes.
Like if you are a CEO of a small business,
Mm.
you can't do everything.
Yes.
So, and maybe you don't have those funds to send someone for training. Why don't
Mm.
you capacity build someone yourself?
Yeah, that's a very good
in
point.
and you're able to offload some of the things you do by just
Mm.
training that person, and then ensuring that person also trains someone. It means that
Mm.
as the company is growing, people know that here we train each other for us to learn.
Yes. Yes.
So
True.
that means it's already in their system that I'm
Mm.
supposed to train someone.
Mm.
That's how you foster a culture of training, because
Very
not
true.
necessarily you have to go outside.
Mm.
And you have to, once you have that, you'll find people are willing to learn. Because
Mm.
then, this is a small organization and we want to grow.
Yes.
And you can train each other inside. But the fact is
Yes.
that when you sensitize that, you'll find that as the organization is growing, like now Aurum is small,
Yes.
but when you look at yourself 5, 10 years to come, what the things you are doing, some of them you will not be doing.
Mm.
But who have you trained to take you
Mm-hmm.
that these things, this podcast now so and so can run with it.
Mm-hmm. True.
So because when you grow and then you have to do strategic things. You have to attend strategic meetings, even internationally.
Mm-hmm.
There needs to be that person. And
Mm-hmm.
right now, maybe you don't need to sponsor them with money to learn the things you have. You know now what we have is things we have learned over the years.
Sure.
But now the person I'm working day to day with, they are picking from me,
Mm-hmm.
and so they can learn. I can go on leave. I don't have to say I can't go on leave because there's no one to do my work. you know
Mm-hmm.
the, the mean people will not do the training,
Mm-hmm.
especially where the culture is not there for training. So it's upon the organization to really encourage staff to have to do this. The other thing maybe you can do is encourage inputs for training programs from staff. What would we want
Mm-hmm.
us to train on?
Yes. Yes.
Because you
Yes. Very
can't
true.
just come and put a curriculum there and you say, Zippy, you start class 1, class 2, class 3. That's not, maybe I did class 1 where I was. I am not
Mm-hmm.
interested with class 1. I need, I need something different for my career. For this
Mm-hmm.
job I'm doing, I have done class 1. I need class 10. you know? So if
Mm-hmm.
my input is hard, then the way we customize the training things, then it will make it easy for me to want to be trained. The other thing is I like coaching a lot. I like coaching, and at times coaching can be hard because then you are building this person to grow. So
Yes.
the training we are talking about is coaching when you are doing it within the organization. It's entrenching that. And for me, I wouldn't even mind, Tony, putting in your appraisal that by the
Mm.
end of this year, as you do these other things, you will have to account for which one person or two people
Yes.
you have trained or you have coached. Because
Yes.
then
That's true.
that makes it a culture that, first of all, there are times that human nature needs to be kind of you need to put some kind of an authoritarian thing for people, especially those who don't like sharing knowledge. There are so many people who don't like sharing knowledge. And those are the
Mm.
ones who get the organization stuck because they just want to stay with, they are so holding into their two jobs. They think,
Mm.
Tony, you think if you train me, then I'll take over
Yes.
your
Yes.
job.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
tell myself it's okay to sack myself from a job because the people under me have grown until I
Mm.
have nothing to do. And when you reach there, even God will open another door for you
Come on.
because then you have grown someone. The other thing
Mm-hmm.
is creating a training program.
Mm-hmm.
So when you create that training program with the input of the staff, you'll find people will want because it is adding to their skills. And
Mm.
then encourage competing reward. Yeah,
Mm.
because you agreed to be trained and you are success. After I was trained, this was my performance. Reward me.
Mm.
That is
Mm-hmm.
healthy competition. Other people
Mm-hmm.
will want to
Yes.
learn. They
To
would
learn.
want to
That's true.
learn. So some of those things you can do to create a culture or to foster a culture of training and learning in your organization, you'll find people will want to do that to learn. Thanks.
Wow. 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 Thank you, Martha, for that. Zippy, what can you say about this making a cultural trait of learning and development in a business?
I like what Mother has said and how she has put this across. And I like the fact that she said, fire yourself as a leader. As a CEO,
Mm.
fire yourself. And how do you fire yourself? It's by coaching and mentoring other people. It's creating that culture of people learning and developing themselves to the point they can take bigger responsibilities. And I remember we were having this conversation with a team we were training yesterday, and the questions were like, how do I fire myself? I mean, what do I do after that? Or
Yes.
how do I call someone who will come and take over after my job? And I realized sometimes we are too insecure not to coach other people who are working under us because we are afraid we might lose our jobs. And like Mother is saying, opportunities will always arise. God will
Mm,
open doors. Either there'll be an expansion in the business, there will be an opportunity for you elsewhere when you have mentored someone. Now, to come back to, talking about developing this culture, one of the things I've realized, especially with small businesses, um, SMEs, where you find probably, the issue, of course, the issue of budget, an issue, we are talking about it like Mother was saying. One of the important things is to constantly talk about training and get
mm,
employees to understand why is this training important. Get to convince yourself as a business person why training my people is important. Sometimes you just
mm,
have to think about it and analyze it to get to the realization, actually, this is going to help my business grow even bigger, to the point that, this issue, of course, is no longer an issue, but, it's
mm,
something we do every day. And this is something I found even in our own, small business. We keep on talking about training, learning. How do we train? Mother has talked about in another 5, 10 years, we might want to be doing many other things. We are already starting to think about that. We need to think about the strategic aspects of the business. And one of the things we were telling our team members, we need to start seeing them coming to the podcast, and Zipporah not sitting in
mm,
the podcast, but them running the show. Why? Because
mm,
we are also creating platforms for them to be able to learn and also practice the skills that they have. So it's important for us to create those avenues. The other thing I think is important for us to promote that continuous learning. Like Mother
mm,
has said, we have gained our experience over many years, and
mhm,
it has
mhm.
been through, that promoting that culture of continuous learning. You want to learn something new. So you know how to do this best. You are probably very good at the area of administrative issues when it comes to HR. You need to move to an area of a strategic perspective. How can you do HR from a strategic perspective? I'm in a
Mhm.
class where, I remember the teacher or the tutor asking, if today the CEO was to come and say we don't need HR anymore, how would you be able to defend that department? How would you be
Mhm.
able to say we are relevant? You know, and it's through learning, it's through creating that culture of learning and continuous learning that will give
Yes.
you other opportunities, that will give you other ideas of things that can be done that becomes helpful to the organization. I also think it's important to create clear links between training and the objectives of the business or the business strategy. And when I'm
Mhm.
talking about this, sometimes when we are training, especially with SMEs, we like starting from very simple things that might not look important. Like, what is the organization mission? What is the organization vision? What are the values? How are all these connected to what I do on a daily basis that would help me deliver to those objectives the business has set? So again, linking that, I think, is also very critical. And it's not for them to just cram the mission so that when you ask them, they know. How someone say there's a CEO you'll meet on the lift and he'll ask you what is our mission. If you don't say, he will send you to HR. And it's not about you cramming the mission. It's about internalizing and owning
Really.
the process and understanding. If I have an understanding of where we are going as a business, I internalize it. Even in my daily activities, as I do what I'm doing, I'm
Yeah.
working towards achieving something because I have a clear understanding. I am not
Yes.
doing it to get paid the money. And I always tell, employees, especially when I get an opportunity to train, if you're going to do the job just to earn the money, you will get bored very quickly. You'll work for
Yeah.
1, 2 years, then you will start looking for opportunities. And I always see this when people come for interviews and you ask someone, why do you want to leave the job where you're at? And they will tell you, I'm looking for a better opportunity, I'm looking for a new challenge. And you're wondering, what new challenge are you looking for that is actually not available in the current opportunity that you have? So
Mm.
sometimes I think it's also lack of understanding. I need to understand where this business is going. And unless the business owners are also not showing you where the business is going, because sometimes as business owners, we can also be confused and confuse our employees. But if there's a clear direction where we are going, I think we can be able to create that culture of linking the training and business objectives, and that becomes a culture. I know of organizations where, training, and you'll always hear someone say, if you get a staff from that organization, just be sure they're very well trained.
Mm.
So what makes them, be very well trained? Because they have created a culture. It's known. Here, we train, whether you like it or not. We will keep on telling you the things that you think you know until you understand what we're trying to say. So we'll keep on
Mm,
discussing the same things until we achieve our objectives. The third thing I think is important, even as we start creating the culture of learning and development, is also to engage technology. Right now, technology has come to help us make work easier. And right now, there are learning management modules where we can be able to engage. And our employees don't have to necessarily sit in a class from 8 to 5 to learn. We can have smaller modules of learning. They can engage this learning during their private time. They can log in and they can be able to learn different aspects of their job or what the organization needs them to achieve. I know there are organizations actually that do that, and where you find they use the balance scorecard, for example, for performance management,
correct.
and the employee is required to do a training of at least 40 hours per year. There's a learning module where you have to log in and you have to train. And unless you train and answer some specific questions, you can't move to the next module. So it even becomes very easy for HR to be able to track, is Zipporah actually doing their learning? So when it comes
Mm,
to performance reviews, it will be very easy for me to just pull out a report and say out of 40 hours, you've only done 20 hours. So you have actually not achieved this objective. So again, it's important for us to also think about engaging technology as creating a culture of learning, making it easier for people.
mm.
Because when we make it complicated, people also tend to zone out. So let's make it easy for people, easily accessible, and they'll be able to learn.
Good, 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 good. Ladies, you're really. In fact, I had a third discussion point, but I can see our time has really gone, and the gist is going very deep. Issues regarding how to develop that culture. Martha, I like the fact that you've talked about coaching and mentoring, because, for example, you've brought in a new staff. I am a trained accountant, but I don't know how you run your business. So you place me with, probably you're expanding. You need the accounts department to have a deputy. You bring the new person to sit under the old person for about a week to understand, this is how we do our costings, this is how we do our purchases, this is how we blah 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 blah. And the person gets on the system up and running. You hire a HR person, you hire somebody in marketing, you hire somebody depending on your business. That coaching and mentoring, and especially where you think you do not have enough money to be able to hire somebody from outside, there are those in-house trainings that you can carry out no matter the size of your business. The key is, are you structured as a business? Are you structured to be able to do the same? Then there also something that we said about training being fixed into strategy. Training being fixed into strategy. This one, you don't need to be a big company. You don't need to be a multinational. You just need to have a focused strategy that we will train our people. We might spend a little money here and there to train our people in certain areas. Even the CEO himself can spare time, yeah, can spare time to train their staff on certain issues. On, okay, I want you guys to learn, this is how we answer the phone, this is how we replace to respond to emails, these are our standards on answering calls from outside, this is how we treat people when they walk in. Because Martha and Zippy, I'm sure you've seen, training doesn't have to be, you're being trained about, global matters. No, just how to welcome staff in the office. I've been to places you walk in and then people look at you like you're an alien that has landed from outer space. And I said, dude, kwani nyinyi watu hamjafunzwa kukaribisha wageni? That was absent. Yet there are places you go and you see the person. It's not a big organization, but there's something that has been inputted in staff, any staff. They're able to know when a phone is ringing, any staff can pick, and they have a way they answer the phone. And even if they're not the ones handling it, they know what to do. So what we are saying is, it is these small and big things that create a culture. Because a culture is just basically a learned behavior, how we do things here, how we do things, in this institution. And Zippy, I like the fact that you brought up a CEO in the lift, and they meet a staff, and they're asking him, "What is our mission? What is our vision?" And you start stammering. Yeah, English suddenly becomes a foreign language. Yeah, English becomes a foreign language. and the CEO tells you, go to HR. Yeah, you know. Well, Martha, there's something you said there, Martha, about sometimes companies finding they have to be a bit authoritarian. Why? Probably it could be staff have been encouraged and they don't seem to be getting it. Sometimes management just decides, you know what, this was certainly by force, by fire. What is our mission? What is our vision? You don't know. Go get a warning letter. Ushike adabu. You know, you know. So, so these are things we are not encouraging our business people to do it by force, by fire. It is an issue of inculcating a culture where we know what are we doing. Because when staff understand, for example, what is the mission, vision, and values of a company, they know why they exist, why they work for this company. Why are we here? I'm working for Aurum Consultants. What is Aurum achieving? What is the vision? Where are they going? And how do we arrive there? So this is a hot discussion to our viewers and listeners. This is something that we want to do the next. You can even do it until end of May because it is a very wide topic. The issues regarding psychology, issues regarding finance, issues regarding appropriateness, issues regarding relevance. There are many things that we can discuss. And if you're out there, you're wondering how do we follow it up with you guys at Aurum Consultants, our contacts are at the bottom of the screen via Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn, and even via our website. You can get in touch with us. If you'd like to know more about how do you train your staff, what is the relevance of training, how can you make it stronger and better, how can you equip your staff with the relevant skills that are required just for just for training. We offer quite a number of trainings for staff from corporates and SMEs. And if you'd like to get in touch, we would love to help you. So we've come to the end of our podcast. We have gone past almost 10 minutes past the usual time. But I'm sure if you're listening to us, Martha, Zippy, I'm sure you've loved what we've discussed today. And we are looking forward to continuing discussing issues of training, issues of development. Because when you stop developing, you die. Yeah? If you stop, yeah, seriously, if you stop learning, because training is about learning. I'm told once you stop learning, now you ultrafy. Sasa wewe, yeah, you're of no more use to the world around us. So with that said, we want to appreciate our viewers and our listeners. Thank you for logging in. Thank you for taking time to come in. We appreciate your time, and we hope that join us this coming week. And this coming Saturday it will be an Easter Saturday. By the way, it's an Easter Saturday. This coming week is an Easter Saturday. In fact, we need to consult. Zippy, what do you say?
We will have a podcast, don't worry. Join us
We
next
should.
Saturday at time like this, and you will
Good.
find us right here speaking about the same topic.
Brilliant. You see now what happens. Sometimes we also coach and train each other live on podcast. So yeah, this coming Saturday, indeed, we will have a podcast and we will continue discussing on issues regarding training and development because this is a very wide, very deep, very important topic for anyone. If you're an employee, you need to know why you should be trained, and if you're not being trained, why you are not being trained. If you're an employer, you need to understand part of the ways to retain your staff is to invest in them by training. So, ladies, thank you for the time that you've taken. Thank you for joining us. I want to appreciate those who posted in. Lois Wanjiko, thank you for your kind comments. It was very educative. Same with Omosh. Thank you for your comments. We are very appreciative and we thank you for logging in. So, until next week, God bless you. Take care. Let's see each other next Saturday. Thank you.